Oh, okay, there we go. I'm glad that was 10 minutes or however long that was, almost 2 minutes. Just give me 1 second. Uh, 1 second. Um, just heard some noises. I'm not sure what that is, so we'll check with that in a second. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are now officially live here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and basketball opinions. And guys, we decided to kind of change everything up, make it a new look. And this is kind of the new look that we're going for. We're kind of going for a more basketball-oriented theme. So that's what we got here with our background. We also got, of course, a donation link if you guys are interested in donating to the channel. Of course, like I said, this is not one where for begging for money for sake, but if you guys support the content, if you guys support what I'm talking about here on The Charge, where we talk about numerous topics, then I will appreciate each and every donation that you give if you guys choose so. Donation will be in the link, or will be in the chat if you guys are interested in donating to The Charge here on YouTube. And let me see if I can put it on here for the multi-stream, if I can or not. If I can't, then that is a bummer, but that is okay. We'll figure that out as we kind of go on from here on out. But yeah, you know, the channel looks a little bit different now. It's definitely upgraded. It's definitely something where we wanted to take it up a notch, kind of do a daily show. Also, if you guys couldn't hear me in the 2 minutes that I was talking, we are also going to be doing a... this is also going to be live on the on podcast as well. So I'm going to try and get that on at least to SoundCloud. So if you guys missed today's episode, if you guys missed any of the episodes, it will be on SoundCloud if you guys want to listen to it and kind of check it out. So that is kind of my situation that we got going on here for The Charge. But anyway, let's start off with, of course, the latest breaking news, and that is, of course, the James Harden fiasco. I made a video about it on my YouTube channel, and we're going to be talking about it here. So let's go to a live scene and just kind of talk about this NBA news and rumors going on here on the channel. Let's see here. Can we switch it up? Hopefully it is not here. Let's get this up. 1 second, everybody. Let's see here. Oh, of course. Give me the properties, please. This it? Okay, this is it. Again, this is just the donation page. Don't worry about it. But we do need to talk about this because the Rockets right now, as according to ESPN and many other sources, just do not have a timetable for when James Harden will report to training camp. So the Houston Rockets do not have a timetable for when James Harden will join their team in training camp. We know that Stephen Silas is the new head coach for the Rockets. He wants to make sure that the team is organized and well off. And they just decided that, we're just not going to have a timetable for him. And he says there's no timetable as far as I know. It's a setback. You want to see your best players in here. And, Silas also isn't sure if Harden's currently in Houston. We also saw kind of the reports and rumors that he was attending the little baby's birthday, or the baby or little baby's birthday. I'm not sure which hip-hop artist he was with, but that is kind of the rumors. He was at the club, and that's kind of the biggest thing that we got to talk about, because we know that the NBA has put in guidelines and strict rules for these NBA players that they are not allowed to be in the NBA. Or they're sorry, not in the NBA, but they're not allowed to be at the clubs, at the bars. They're not allowed to be anywhere near kind of that situation. So that is going to be an interesting thing to kind of look at and see, like, will James Harden follow the rules? Will he be able to abide by what the league is mandating for him? Because I know that this is going to be a huge problem, not only for James Harden, but many players as well, including guys like Lou Williams, who, had that whole fiasco with the lemon pepper wings. I mean, it's just going to be a huge situation to kind of look and deal with as it pertains to the NBA, because like we talked about many times before, right? These players, they're young, they have a lot of money. Sometimes they're not going to follow the rules, and that's kind of the frustrating thing about it. And so we're going to have to see the situation at hand as it unfolds, because I would love to see the NBA continue going on. I'm not sure how the COVID protocol is going to be. Like, for example, if one team decides to play, or one team has a positive case, they're not going to allow to play, and then do the teams that they played before them have to play. It's like, kind of, if you kind of do the background checks and all this other stuff, it's just going to lead to a huge situation where there's going to be like numerous amount of people that are going to be on this COVID restrictions, or at least COVID. You're going to see COVID cases kind of rise up because they play each other, and soon after that, you're going to have the whole league with cases. I mean, if we took a look, the positive test kind of going on around the league right now, we see that Draymond Green and James Wiseman are out because of COVID. I think you guys all got it. That's something that he's reported. We saw Terry Scott's kind of talk about players. We're also in a situation. Tyrese Maxey looks like he's also positive with COVID. A lot, Toronto Raptors had to close down practice after 3 positive cases. I mean, this is going to be a huge situation for the NBA to deal with when it comes to the coronavirus and the stuff that goes along with it. I mean, that's going to be the frustrating part about the whole thing. I would love to see a situation where these players can just be in a bubble, but I just think a bubble, as much as I would love to say it's realistic, it's just not realistic. I mean, we saw the NFL try and make some sort of bubble. It just didn't work. The MLB made a bubble and it didn't work. I mean, we had the player Justin Turner have positive case of COVID and then still continue to play on. I mean, to be honest with you, it's a little frustrating that situation even happened. But that's kind of the reality that we're in right now, is that we need to make sure that these players are in a safe place. And the reason why I go back to James Harden is because he's at the club. He's celebrating with a group of friends. It doesn't really matter who you're celebrating with. You're not even in the city of Houston. It looks like potentially he might be in a different city. And it's just kind of starting speculations that James Harden is really trying to get his way out of Houston. I mean, if you're James Harden, this is definitely not a great look for you. As someone, I'm not saying that he's a role model. I'm not saying that you should look up to NBA players and say, like, you should pick one NBA player to be a role model of. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that you're setting a bad precedent for not only yourself, but kind of the people that you work with. I mean, the rookies are going to see, like, well, if James Harden can go out to a different city and celebrate without a mask on in the club, then why can't I? And you're just going to create this whole situation where it's just going to create, this situation where the NBA might even be canceled, or the games might be not available. And it's just one of those things that I just don't want to see the league kind of fall into, especially, with so many teams, so few players. Getting rid of one player on your team, whether that's a role player or your star player, that's a huge impact on whether or not you can continue playing in the league, or like, and even get playoff spots. We know that there's going to be the 9 and 10 seed are going to battle out for a shot at the playoffs. I mean, we're going to see that situation happen. I'm not a big fan of what's going on right now, and James Harden is definitely not helping out right now. The fact that James Harden isn't with the team right now as well is also a slap in the face, I would say, because even if you're not happy in Houston, if you just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to sit out, I'm going to stay at home, I'm going to work out. And that's not to say, again, this is not to say that James Harden isn't working out where he's at. It's not to say that he's not, doing his thing. But at the same time, what I'm getting frustrated with about this whole situation is that James Harden is kind of not really paying attention to what's going on in the forefront, right? They're not paying attention to, the cases that are rising in the nation, and also kind of this like anti-mask sort of situation too that we're seeing from James Harden is definitely not a great look for the NBA to see that one of their star players or one of their key players is not wearing a face mask. And that's also going to frustrate a lot of people because, at the end of the day, you want James Harden, you want these players to play in the league, you want them to do a great job at keeping safe, keeping healthy, and, making the most money that they can. This is a short career. This isn't a career where you can just, make it until you're like 50 or 60 years old. This is a career where once you're done at almost like 32, 33 years old, and that's just being generous to some of these players, then you're done making money. I mean, you can make money other ways with advertisement, but like in terms of the amount of money that they're going to make, the max contracts that these players see, they're not going to make that anymore. And so that's going to be an interesting situation to kind of look at and see, is James Harden going to be able to do that? And unfortunately, right now, what it's looking like is that is just not going to be the case. I hope James Harden proves me wrong. I hope that we actually do get to see James Harden kind of be in a situation where he's actually not. I'm trying to think of the right word. Where he's not causing the league, or where he's just, happy with the team that he's playing on. Like, at the end of the day, I want James Harden to play on whatever team that he wants to play on, but he's got to do it the right way, and he's got to kind of commit to Houston for now, and then once his contract is up, then you can decide, okay, I want to move to this team, or I want to play for this team, because right now, what you're doing is just not a great look, and it just doesn't look good for NBA players as well, the ones that want to really take this stuff seriously. I feel bad for PGF Performance, who trains him, and just kind of like his work ethic and the way that he has clients that he takes care of. I understand that James Harden is a workout warrior, but right now, the way that he's going is it's a slap in the face to his trainers, to everybody that he works with, because it really sets a bad precedent, like I said, for the young rookies who are in the league and saying, like, if James Harden can do it, why can't I? And that's just not what we want to see here in the NBA. We want to see really good athletes play really great games of basketball, and we really want to, cheer them on. We want to support whatever endeavors that they want to go into. But ultimately, it's a slap in the face to fans. It's a slap in the face to your teammates, especially proving the people right that, a lot of people blamed Russell Westbrook for the situation at hand, at what's going on for kind of the Houston Rockets and why they were such a debacle. And I really kind of want to see them step up. I want to see the Rockets. I want to see, Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook be owed an apology for what's going on. Hey, Tyrese, how you doing, man? Hopefully you like the new setup of the channel, man. We got this new setup, so I'm hoping that everyone is enjoying that here. And of course, if you guys don't know, kind of the chat that I'm going to be looking at for the most part is going to be on YouTube, but I do have a multi-stream chat to kind of see each and every one of yours. If you're chatting for me from Facebook, from Twitch, no matter what it is, that's what we're going to be looking at. And so kind of going on the situation that at hand for the Houston Rockets, like I said, it is a slap in the face to all those players that kind of were criticized for what happened in Houston. And I just think, Tyrese, you were absolutely right. The Rockets are a mess. And I think we all need to owe it's nice, man. Tyrese, come on, man. But it's one of those things where I just kind of look at the situation at hand and see like how poorly treated Russell Westbrook were and Chris Paul were for being the scapegoat for as to why these teams didn't win, when really we have to look at James Harden. You don't see LeBron James at the club. You don't see him, without a mask. You see him at home working out, trying to get ready for the next season because he has a different priority and mindset. And I just think that James Harden's mindset is just leading a lot of people astray, for teams that are not in the playoffs, for a team that are not doing well in the season. Are they going to also have that same James Harden mindset and say, you know what? Why should I even care about what's going on right now? Why should I even try and do anything to help my team win, when I can just, kind of be chill, kind of not deal with anything. And so at the end of the day, it is frustrating to watch what's happening in Houston right now. And if this is all just to go to the Brooklyn Nets, this is absolutely the worst way to do it. I don't know who's advising you to do this, but your agent is probably fuming right now because you have just lost a lot of value to your team. We know that James Harden kind of has a perception about him when it comes to the strip club. And so this is definitely not going to help his case. It's definitely not going to look good. And at the end of the day, this is kind of a slap in the face, like I said, to many people out there. But at the end of the day, what can you do at this point other than kind of see, let's see if James Harden gets traded. Let's see what happens. Because like I said, if James Harden is not going to follow these strict protocols, what's going to happen to these players? Are they going to be suspended? Are they going to be out for like a week or two? Are they going to be suspended without pay? So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if this is going to be a situation where, maybe they get suspended. And we'll see if that will kind of wake them up to be like, okay, maybe I should go in a different direction instead of the direction that I'm going in. But let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this whole situation? Do you guys agree with the James Harden situation? Do you think it's no big deal? Do you think it's a big deal that James Harden is right now out in the club living his best life without a mask on during a pandemic, celebrating with celebrating with people that, aren't really in his group? PJ Tucker, I could see him demanding a trade. I would demand a trade. Why would I want to be in Houston? Houston right now is such a mess, and it just stems from the culture that James Harden sets. And this is why I don't think that James Harden can be your Batman or your Superman or whatever superhero that you like. Marvel. I'm not really a Marvel guy, but that's kind of what I'm going to see here, man. Reporters asked him about this Tyrese, by the way. Reporters asked him about his contract, and he said, next question. Yeah, I think the Rockets, like I talked about years before when I made this channel with me and my boy Pete, we talked about this since the beginning, man. It's one of those things where it's like, they had a 1 or 2 year opportunity, and they had that chance when they missed 27 threes in a row, and they just blew it. And that was kind of the chance that they had to win a championship. And ultimately, they failed at that goal, and we'll see what happens from here on out. I'd be interested to know what you guys think, like I said, of this whole James Harden situation in the comments section down below. But let's move on to talking about this sort of policy that the NBA has just put in place. And that is, of course, they've sent a memo detailing policies on resting during the 2021 NBA season. Of course, this is coming from ESPN. The memo presents possible examples, including to rest a key veteran player who's played a substantial role on a team that advanced deep into the 2020 playoffs, or rest a player who is returning at full strength after recovering from COVID. The memo also says that qualifying factors determine whether a player falls under those unusual circumstances, including a player's age, injury history, COVID-19 recovery, season and career workload, and scheduling issues, including how many teams a game has recently played. So this is basically talking about the rule that they don't want their big star players to rest. This was kind of the big situation that happened for Kawhi Leonard throughout this whole year, throughout his whole career even, stemming from the San Antonio Spurs days with load management, talking about all these sort of injuries that have affected him. And I think this is kind of a weird thing to do because at the end of the day, you can't prove whether someone's hurt or not. I mean, there's some injuries where you can be like, yes, you were definitely hurt, but there's some where it's kind of mental, right? Where it comes to Kawhi's thigh injury, or where it comes to the quad, the hamstring, those are kind of tricky kind of situations with players. And, some of them don't want to share that information. It's just kind of one of those things that I want to see players and people kind of look at and be like, okay, what can we do to really help and alleviate the situation at hand? The league has talked about fining $100,000 for high-profile games, especially the nationally televised ones. I think that's where people, especially the NBA, are looking at this situation. I just don't think that that's kind of the right approach to do it. And Tyrese, you say, which they should. You had superstars sit out without a whole pandemic. Now COVID, with teams losing so much money, they can't afford even $30 million giving NBA teams. And that is exactly right. I mean, there's a lot of money to be had. There's a lot of money to be lost with these superstars sitting out, especially when it comes to the games, the nationally televised games, that is, right? Some teams may have fans, some teams may not. And I just think that at the end of the day, this is kind of spewing a situation where it could be, how do you prove the intent of whether or not that superstar sitting down? For example, let's say Kawhi Leonard, right? He says he's got a deep tissue injury. I mean, how are you going to be, as an NBA league official and people that come to visit, be like, Kawhi, do you really have a deep tissue injury? or, LeBron James, do you really have, muscle fatigue or muscle soreness? I mean, they can come up with whatever sort of injury that they can come up with, right? James Harden, are you recovering from the club? I mean, that's just a joke. But, for James Harden, it's like a left ankle injury. I mean, you could just make up any type of injury that you want for these players, and they will be able to get away with it. And so, it'd be interesting to see, like, if you're like, okay, these players are playing in this game. New stream cam overlay looks nice. Thanks, Camden. Appreciate it, man. Are we going to see a situation where we see that, Kawhi Leonard sits out against the LA Lakers, but then when he plays against, like, the Cleveland Cavaliers, he's, balling out 40, 50 points a game. It's just one of those things that I just don't know whether or not James Harden, or sorry, not even James Harden, because we just talked about him in the previous segment, but more so these star players, like, how do you prove the intent of these players sitting down? I'm not sure that you can. I'm not sure that you are going to be able to, in my opinion. It's one of those things that I wish that there was some sort of way where you could be like, okay, you know what? This player's sitting out. This player's not sitting out. But at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to wait and see and kind of see how this policy is enforced with the first player that gets this sort of situation. Are we going to, and this also includes, veteran players, key role players as well. They're also included in this sort of stipulation. They don't want any player sitting out. Let's say it's PJ Tucker for the Houston Rockets. He's like, well, you know what? My team sucks. Why would I want to play in this key game? My ankle or my pinky is hurt. I'm going to sit out. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, these teams are going to do what they want, and we're going to see if the NBA is going to abide by these rules. I know that there's some wiggle room for some players, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a very interesting situation to kind of look at and monitor and see whether or not these players are going to be able to kind of abide by the rules. And are these teams and owners and coaches going to abide by the rules? Because at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. You got to enforce it on the teams and not so much the players. And so let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of that rule change? I know that this is kind of a topic at hand that gets a little people, hey, Yoy, how you doing, man? Hopefully you are enjoying work. I'm not sure if you're working or not. Hopefully you're enjoying that. And like I said, guys, we do have some new kind of situations at hand. If you guys want to check out the YouTube live stream chat, there is a link, and also a link in the description down below. If you guys are interested in donating, like I said, you're not required to, but the thing I am going to ask you guys, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscription button. We're trying to grow the channel. We're about 300 subscribers away from getting 1,000. So that is the one thing that I'm requesting. If you guys are in here, if we see that it's popping a little bit, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get there as fast as we can to 1,000 subscribers, so we can kind of create more content and create other stuff to really appease and help the channel out. But that is kind of the situation at hand, like we talked about with the NBA, kind of looking to see and really noticing if these players are going to be sitting out for good reasons. We'll find out in the future. So let's move on kind of to the other stories at hand. We got some stuff to talk about. One story that I kind of want to shout out to was, of course, the Bam Adebayo. Shout out to Bam Adebayo, man. Probably one of the nicest kids out there. He decided that Bam Adebayo is giving his mom a birthday present of a lifetime on Sunday. After years of struggling while together in a single wide trailer, Adebayo bought his mom, Miss Blunt, a home where she can call her own, closing at $200 million if he hits certain escalators. Of course, that's his contract. He decided to buy his mom a home. So really appreciate that story. It's a feel-good story. Everybody loves those stories where, you really help your parents out. They've done a lot for you. I'm sure Bam Adebayo really appreciates the times where he was taken to his AAU games, or even his kind of little league games where he was just playing some basketball, and his mom was like, okay, I'm going to take you to the game real quick, when maybe she doesn't feel like it. And, we all kind of want to thank our parents for that as well. It's not easy being a parent. It's not easy kind of dealing with kids sometimes. Sometimes you want the time for yourself. Obviously, when you have a kid, that's kind of your responsibility, but at the end of the day, it is a tough responsibility, and I'm glad that he's rewarding his mom through all the hard work and determination of being a mom by giving her a nice home to live in. So wanted to kind of shout out Bam Adebayo for buying his mom a home. Let's kind of look here really quick at any other stories. 76ers point Simmons back to old role as facilitator. That'll be kind of interesting. I'm not sure about that. He really should be working on his 3-point game. If he's not shooting threes this season, I give up on him, to be honest with you. And I kind of went on a big rant in a previous segment. If you guys want to check that out, I believe it's 2 segments ago. If you guys want to check out that live stream, I went on a huge rant for that stuff. But let's talk about this as well, kind of talking about the NBA. All 30 teams are going to receive $30 million to help with finances. So NBA teams will get $30 million each with finances and protect against any liquidity issues during the pandemic, according to a report for the Sports Business Journal. The money comes from the $900 million the league raised from note issued by the NBA in private place market. SJB reported. The publication said that the market generally includes insurance companies and institutional investors. So they obviously got money from people that were investing in the league. People are obviously going to give money. It's the NBA. They kind of want to be a part of it each and every way. And if you're a part of it by giving money to them, they will definitely reward you in the future with maybe opportunities to buy a team if an owner decides, you know what, it's time to call it quits. We could see that as well. I don't know about this, guys, but, the NBA gets about 40% of its revenue from game day. And, of course, this is going to be a huge problem. We know that the workers were probably fired, the ones that work at the arenas. So, I think the crappy situation about this whole thing right now is that, fans are not allowed into the arena. And we know that that's a huge chunk of the league's money. And we're going to see what happens for the league, man. I'm worried that without the money there, it seems like the streaming numbers and kind of the numbers for watching games has gone down as well. So I'm a little bit worried that we're going to get a situation at hand where these players and, these people are just not going to have enough money to support these teams, support the workers at hand. And that's going to be a really sad situation where you can't even support your medical staff. You can't support, kind of the workers at the facilities. And, they're taking a risk as well, too. It's not just the players. It's not just the kind of the people there. So, but it's kind of tough to facilitate and kind of see, excuse me as I yawn. But, it's kind of a sad situation to see because you don't know what's going to happen. The $30 million is definitely going to help in some instances, but is it going to help in all instances? Is it going to help, the single dad or the single mom or, the struggling two parents from a Latino home or from a black home or from a white home? It doesn't matter what type of home it is, right? Is it going to be able to support those type of people that need that money, that rely on working game days, that rely on the tips that these people give out when you're there at the games, the beer and all that other stuff, the stuff that really helps the team stay afloat. That is what I'm worried about. And so we'll see what happens. $30 million isn't really that much when it comes to NBA. Obviously, it's a ton of money. And we know that small businesses could also use that money as well. It's a tricky situation. Obviously, this is the NBA's money, so we'll kind of get away from the small business part of it. But it's going to be an interesting situation to see what the league does for future workers because, some people will have workers, some people won't. And that's going to be the interesting thing to kind of read and look about it. So we'll see what happens. And let's kind of move on to the next story. Let's see if the NBA here kind of has any stories talking about this. Trying to see here. We got Karl-Anthony Towns. And that was kind of really it for the story. Kind of the main story of the topic, of course, was James Harden's absence. We know that John Wall is also kind of added to the team as well. So this is just bad optics, like the article says here for The Athletic. I mean, it's one of those things where, and I'll kind of go back to it because I know a lot of people have just tuned in. With James Harden not reporting to camp, it's just kind of a sad state of affairs, to be honest with you. The fact that James Harden really isn't respecting the Houston Rockets, is not really respecting the NBA, and kind of doing his own thing. Like, I get that you want to be your own guy. I get that you want to be the face of your franchise, the face of kind of your own brand. But right now, this is just such bad optics if you're James Harden right now. The fact that you're looked at as kind of a selfish guy. That's what it looks like to be. I mean, you don't see, like I said, you don't see LeBron James doing it. You don't see any other player doing it besides James Harden. And it's just a bad look. And I just think that that's kind of the reason why you don't see a lot of people playing with James Harden. You don't see why there's a lot of people clamoring, even though, Durant and Kyrie Irving would love to play with him. There's a reason why no one wants to go to Houston. There's a reason why James Harden wants to leave Houston. Is because no one wants to kind of deal with James Harden being the focal point, kind of making his own team after leaving Oklahoma City. Excuse me. And that's just kind of the sad situation, the sad state of affair that we're kind of noticing here on the Charge, and also kind of what we're noticing here in the NBA. It's just kind of that situation at hand. And at the end of the day, we'll see what happens, but we'll see what goes on. In just 1 second, looks like we got some people talking in the chat. Let's see here. 1 second. I will give you the link, Nathan, in 1 second. I just have to kind of copy and paste the link from my phone. All right, Nate. I put it in there for you. Let me know once you get it, and that's kind of where people are kind of chatting about. So kind of, if you have your opinions and comments, make sure to kind of get in there and to leave your comments there. But kind of going back, like I said, to the James Harden story, it's one of those things where it just, like I said, it infuriates a lot of people, people that are kind of struggling right now with other types of, mental health issues and many other things like that. And to see James Harden kind of look at slapping the face of many of these people that are struggling, small businesses that can't open because of restrictions. And it just kind of, it piles on to many different things. At the end of the day, this is just such a bad look for James Harden, such a bad look for the NBA, that I think the NBA really does need to kind of come out with something and say, we apologize for what James Harden's done. We realize that this is a very serious time, and we don't want any of our face-up franchise players or any players that are out there to kind of deal with the situation at hand. They don't want players to they don't want players to have this bad optics, because it really does look bad, And if I don't want to bring it to kind of like the rich and the poor, but we kind of talk about how the rich can kind of buy their way into things, can buy their way to getting stuff that they want, and this is probably a key example is the James Harden situation. Celebrating with the baby, talking about either the little baby or the baby. I can't remember which entrepreneur or which hip hop artist he was with, and kind of celebrating at the strip club, or the club, I should say. And it just kind of reeks of that like elitism. And that's just not what a lot of people right now are struggling with at this moment. And so we'll see what happens. The NBA is kind of dealing with that at this moment. We'll see if the NBA will come out with something. But that was kind of the story that I just talked about at the beginning. And we'll see what happens. I'm curious to know what your guys' comments and opinions are in the comment section down below. But let's kind of look as well into other stories that we kind of have to talk about. We have this story that we talked about probably a couple segments ago, but we'll talk about it once again. Kyrie Irving does intend to do traditional media this upcoming season, according to his publicist. This does not mean that he won't do traditional media. He has every intent to build a mutual, respectful relationship with the media, says Ashley Blackwood, the chief communications office of Kyrie Irving and KAI Enterprise. Irving issued a statement that he tends to do is to let his game do all the talking. Irving can still be fine for not talking to the media. I mean, this is just kind of a story that we talked about in our previous live stream. If you guys are interested, go and check it out. And again, guys, if you're here, don't forget to hit the link in the chat. If you guys are on the YouTube page, there is a donation in the description if you guys don't mind doing that. But also, guys, the thing that we're looking for really here on the channel, and I'll keep stressing this on the daily live show, is, of course, subscribers. We need more subscribers. We want to get to that 1,000 mark. So if you guys could kindly refer to us to your friends, get us talking. That's kind of the intent of the channel at the moment. So if you guys can, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new here on the channel. But kind of going to this Kyrie Irving story that we got to talk about here. Like I said, this is really one of those things that we talked about, is that that Kyrie Irving really needs to hold himself accountable, and getting a publicist is probably what he needs, so his publicist can go onto these interviews, can go and talk and be like, hey, Kyrie, you need to chill out a little bit, stop, kind of going off about some different topics. What he really needs is not a yes man around him. He needs someone to kind of hold him accountable for his actions, and that hopefully his publicist, who we just named, is going to do that, because at the end of the day, you really want to be held accountable for your actions. You want to be held accountable for everything that you say, because at the end of the day, what is going to be frustrating to a lot of people is the fact that you're not holding yourself to higher standards. You know, you are probably the face of the franchise in Brooklyn. Well, maybe not anymore with Kevin Durant. But, you know, it's just not a good look when you're complaining, when you're talking about there's no leaders, and when you say, Boston, if you will have me, I will re-sign this contract. Cleveland, I'm here forever. Like, yeah, I don't think he said the Cleveland part, but, you know, it's just one of those frustrating things that really ticks me off about Kyrie Irving is just the fact that he doesn't hold himself accountable to that standard. And that's something that I really want to see from Kyrie Irving. That's something that I think a lot of people want to see from Kyrie Irving is this growth and maturity. And that's something that we're going to have to find out in the future, you know, in these next couple months. Does Kyrie Irving have that growth and maturity? Does he have that ability? Because at the end of the day, right now, it's not looking too hot right now. And like I said, hopefully his publicists can really see and look at and say, all right, Kyrie, this is what I think you should say. This is what I think you should do, because, you know, no one wants to look dumb. And Kyrie Irving is he doesn't want to be like that anymore. And that's why he kind of hired this publicist to kind of help him out, and to kind of have a traditional media sense of, okay, I have a publicist. She's going to help me, or he or she is going to help me deal with the situation at hand. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm curious to know if Kyrie Irving can kind of learn from his old ways and become a new person. That's kind of hopefully the intent. And let me know in the comment section down below if everybody agrees with Kyrie Irving of having a publicist, or what is going to be going on this later season. But he will be fined if he doesn't speak to the media, so he's still got to face the music. And just again, guys, we do have a Twitter. Kind of going back again, I'm going to go to the starting screen and kind of talk about that. This is the channel right here, the Charge Stream. We got Instagram, we got Twitter. So if you guys are on those, make sure to follow that as well. And we also got kind of some video. This is going to be kind of some fun news. So let's kind of go back to the live scenes, and we'll kind of look at some Denver Nuggets highlights. We know that Bol is going to be a player to watch out for this upcoming season. We see Bol kind of dominating. Kind of watch the video here really quick before I decide to talk. We see here Bol looking very mighty strong, looking dominant in practice. Obviously, Jokic is not there, so it'd be kind of fun to see Jokic and him go at it. But this is great signs if you're a Denver Nuggets fan who probably got the steals of the draft in both Michael Porter Jr. and Bol. I mean, those two players in particular are really key players for the Denver Nuggets this upcoming season. I'm not saying that Bol is going to be like this sort of superstar all-star. He has the potential to be that, but do I see him being that this season? No, I don't think so. But it is encouraging to see Bol dominate at practice, dominate like the way he does. And I just think that this is, like I said, a great sign if you are a Denver Nuggets fan, because like I said, you know, Michael Porter Jr. is looking to become the third superstar. He's looking to become the next guy for you. And so I think as we continue to see the situation grow and develop, I could see Bol being a huge factor into this team. And I just really want to keep watching the video, man, because he just looks really that good. Just dominating. Whoops. Kind of let me just go down here watching the video. Again, breakaway dunk looks a lot faster than he did. Obviously, this is video of like short increments, so we're not really getting the full picture here. Again, this is probably, you know, blocking left and right. I mean, this is just so impressive, and I hope Bol is really going to be really on his grind. We kind of got here some Twitter memes here really quick. Bol does literally anything, and he trends. Of course he does, because Bol is, like I said, he's a phenomenon. He's an interesting kind of prospect because, like we talked about, he's so tall, he can shoot the ball, and he can put the ball on the floor. Like, he is such an interesting prospect. And that's just kind of my kind of opinion on that aspect. So let's move on to other stories here on the Charge. Let's go to Hoops Hype and see if we can notice anything. We got some interesting storylines here. Steph Curry on potentially signing a new contract extension. Let's kind of look at this. See this story here. I'm not sure why it's not appearing on. Let's see here. This is, of course, coming from Drew Schiller. Steph Curry on potentially signing a contract extension with the Warriors. We have conversations, everything on the table right now. It's only a matter of time letting things play out as like they should. I think Steph Curry needs to kind of think long and hard about the extension, just because I think, not that I'm saying that he shouldn't sign that money and get your money, but if he wants to win rings, I think that, especially if he wants to kind of continue his legacy and kind of grow it and become like the sort of, I wouldn't say, kind of on the echelon of top players, then I think that he really should think about maybe not doing it so much as to sign a contract extension with the Warriors, but more so try and focus and see if he can win on a team. Yo, what's up, Sean? How you doing, man? Oh, okay. We got our first donation, $1 from the Babe. Just splash, made splash here in the channel. First donation. Thank you so much, the Babe, for hitting me with that $1 donation. Really appreciate you for that. I'm assuming it was you, Gabby. So thank you so much for that $1 donation. And again, guys, like we said, there is a donation link in the description of the YouTube channel. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to go and hit that up. And I really appreciate that. But kind of going back to the Steph Curry thing, I think he really should think long and hard about whether or not he wants to sign a contract extension with the Golden State Warriors, or should he go to a different team? Because I think that is kind of the biggest question mark that I think a lot of people are going to be deciding whether or not Steph Curry does. Because, if Klay Thompson gets hurt once again, like, do you really want to stay on that team? Like, I know James Wiseman is kind of growing into a role. Maybe he might even be a bigger and better Draymond Green. Who knows? But I think that that's kind of something that we'll see on the channel. Oh, you want to see the cool donation effect? Yes, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is going to be an interesting situation to kind of see what Steph Curry does, because, like I said, he doesn't really have that much time. The ankle injuries, the hand injury, Steph Curry needs to go onto a team where he can feel like he can win. And we'll see what happens as, the years goes on. Will Steph Curry sign that extension? Will he not? That's going to be an interesting kind of situation that we monitor kind of down below, and kind of just as the season continues, and we'll see what happens there. But let's kind of move on to another story here. I mean, there's not really that much to talk about. We'll talk about all the NBA salaries updated. I mean, that's not really something there. We'll kind of an interview with Jonathan Kuminga. I know my boy Brad, talked about him a lot. Maybe we'll watch this interview. Maybe it's an interview that we can kind of look at and see. We'll let the ad kind of pop by. Sorry, I don't know. I don't care if it's Cyberpunk. I don't care what game it is. We are not going to be following that. But let's see what happens and see if the interview can kind of pop up in a minute as soon as this is done. And let's see here. Okay, let's listen to this really quick.
We used to see Kobe's, and sometimes we have gotta go on YouTube the day you get money, the day your mom's just give you some money, you go on these places where you just buy internet and you just use the computer for a couple 30 minutes and just type in the name Kobe, and they're going to give you everything about Kobe. And that's how I just love watching Kobe.
Okay, so that was Jonathan Kuminga kind of doing an interview. Sorry, ad, we are not dealing with you today. That was Jonathan Kuminga kind of talking about Kobe Bryant and kind of the impact that he had. But this is also some of his first questions. It looks like is emerging as first ever League Ignite team. Of course, Jonathan Kuminga from the Congolese, I believe from the Dominican Republic of the Congo. Let me see here. Kind of want to shout out to Jonathan Kuminga, I believe. Yeah, Dominican Republic of the Congo. I believe that is where that's from. Okay, so he is from the Dominican Republic of the Congo. Just to kind of give you a backstory on him, there were a lot of college teams interested in the player, but he decided to go to the G League. But this is kind of the please note that this interview was minorly edited. We got side piece flashing for $1. Okay, we gotta deal with that as well. Thank you. The side piece, I guess. I'm assuming that was you, Sean, but that is just rumors at that point. But let's talk about the interview at hand. Like I said, it was mainly edited for brevity and clarity. You've been one of the top prospects for a few years now, but I'm curious, how did you first fall in love with basketball? And Mr. Kaminga said, I don't even remember the first time I fell in love with it because it was there since I was a little kid. My parents played basketball. My brother played ball. Growing up, we used to see Kobe Bryant. We used to go on YouTube every day, and that's what he talked about at the beginning. And so that was also a good thing. When did you realize that you had the talent to play the game and that basketball had a possibility of taking you somewhere? Everybody that I grew up around was way older than I was. Everybody had their own skill level, but I felt I was getting better fast every day. I put in the work and complete the well against the players I faced. I was standing out, and that's how I got my chance to come to the United States. Now here I am today. What would a younger version of yourself think of the opportunities that were given to basketball players now? I don't know how to say it, but I feel like it's a big blessing to be here. I'm learning more things every day. And Jonathan Kuminga is definitely a prospect that we have to look at. I know that he was kind of regarded as one of the top, at least 2 or 3 prospects coming up. Obviously, he was going to be, he's going to be one of those. We got 2 people fighting in the chat. It was kind of one of those situations at hands where he was going to be a top 3 prospect at least. I went to the G League. Obviously, the G League is not playing as of yet, but we'll see if they will play. That's going to be an interesting situation. So I kind of wanted to watch some Kuminga highlights. So we'll go to YouTube really quick and kind of get that started. And as that is going on, again, everybody, if you don't know, we do have a donation site. If you guys are interested in donating, like I said, it's not required, but what is required of you is going to be subscribing to the channel. And like I talked about here at the beginning, the charge stream on Instagram and Twitter, but most importantly, YouTube, guys. I really want to get this channel popping. That's the reason why everything is completely changed here on the channel. So make sure and go and hit the charge, and make sure that you go and subscribe to the charge so we can kind of get this thing popping. And I want to see this channel succeed. So if you guys are interested in that, please make sure to make it happen. But let me pull up the YouTube really quick, and we will be dealing with talking about that as we speak. Jonathan Kuminga. Let me see here. Trying to see if there's any recent tapes. It looks like the only recent thing that we could see is him playing against some pickup games against like Michael Beasley. Let's see this. We'll kind of watch this a little bit. I'll have this kind of posted. Let's see here. Here we go. Let's post this live scene. Move back to here. Go to theater mode, and we'll kind of watch this kind of unfold.
Hey, I've been living with a target on my back. What you talking about? What you talking about? I'm him. It's me. The only one.
Yeah, Sean, this is kind of the new channel design. So we got kind of the starting screen, kind of start out, talk to you guys, talk to the fans, talk to the people in the chat. Well, I don't really want to call you guys fans. You're more just, supporters, and you guys are, we're here to talk some sports, whether it's basketball, whether it's football. So supporters is probably more the correct term to use. But kind of talking about this Jonathan Kuminga, he's looking like a pretty good prospect, obviously going against Michael Beasley. Maybe not on the switch there. Got a lot of trash talking here. Of course, this is probably some private runs. Probably will never get a chance at these places because obviously they're probably used for training the younger generation, and also kind of as right now they're closed everywhere besides some states. I know some states are open, obviously. Here on the West Coast, pretty much everything's locked down. So we'll see how that looks. Hopefully, okay, let me turn that down a little bit. Sorry if that was like a little bit loud. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Sorry if that kind of was interrupting some stuff, but kind of turn down the volume a little bit. Maybe I'll turn it up just a little bit. Let me see here. Shout out to Jalen for that, for catching that. Thank you. Like I said, this is kind of a growing thing on the channel. Like I said, we'll have guests on here as well. Sean is obviously one of those guests. My boy Brad is also a guest as well, so he might pop into the channel and kind of talk some Kuminga because he knows him more than I do. So, so that's kind of what we'll see here. So, kind of looking at these runs, obviously many of these players, there's connects. Obviously it helps to be an NBA player. Great pass there from Michael Beasley. Obviously this is definitely a different level from Michael Beasley playing in the NBA to Michael Beasley playing against really good players, but definitely not NBA caliber players. And Kuminga is one of those players. I love the trash talking going on. I'm glad that Kuminga is not scared. A little lazy on the screens, to be honest with you. Let's see here. That's a tough hit. That's a tough hit. That is a tough hit. But kind of talking about this, Jonathan Kuminga, this isn't really much of a Michael Beasley, so we'll kind of go to kind of looking at some highlights from the junior year, kind of looking at what he can bring to the table. Obviously, Kuminga, even as a junior, this was him as junior year. I'll kind of turn down the volume so it's not too loud. Him as a junior is just absolutely insane. I mean, like we talked about, Jonathan Kuminga could honestly have been in the NBA probably his senior year. But we'll see what happens. I think Kuminga has definitely a great shot. There's a lot of great players in this upcoming draft. We kind of had an injury scare with Jalen Suggs a little bit earlier. And we also got to talk about the Gonzaga situation at hand. It seems like they have COVID every week, it seems like. So we'll see what their situation is at hand. But definitely Jonathan Kuminga is definitely going to be regarded as one of the best prospects out there. Maybe someday in the channel, maybe this week, we'll kind of go over some of these secret runs and talk about who did well, who did not do well, and who's kind of your surprise player in this. But Jonathan Kuminga going against pretty much players that should not be going against him. He obviously is at least a college level athlete at this point of his career, even as a junior. So I think that Kuminga is definitely has some room to grow, but I think I could definitely see him being like I said, one of those top 3 or 4 prospects. I know that this is going to upset my Gonzaga friends, but we do see that there is a lot of great players coming in this line. I think if there was a way for Jalen Suggs to go in last year's draft or this year's draft with LaMelo Ball, he should have done it. I think any player should have done it because this year's draft is going to be super hard, and even next year's draft is going to be super hard. I watched Cade Cunningham play, and he's really, yeah, Sean. I'm glad that you watched him and you recognize that he is really good. I know that we kind of talk about Cade Cunningham, and I know that you're a Jalen Suggs fan, but I think Cade Cunningham at this point is on a different level. And not saying that Jalen Suggs can't get on that level at some point, but as a 6'7" guard, it's just hard to change it's just hard to kind of factor that in, and not be biased towards Cade Cunningham. But, Kuminga also is not a slouch either. We see him kind of scoring, kind of see him balling out. And this is kind of the thing that I really like to see from these games, and kind of what I like to see from, obviously these are highlights, so you're not getting the whole game. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens to a guy like Kuminga. Like I said, I like his game. I think he'll be a really good player in the future. It'll just be an interesting situation to kind of see, hopefully he's attending those secret runs as much as I would like to, make sure that you stay safe. If you're sick, obviously stay home. Listen to your doctors. That's going to be the first and foremost. I can see Cade having higher potential, but Suggs looks like a complete. Yeah, Sean, I could see that. Sean said that I could see Cade having a higher potential, but Suggs looks like a more complete guard right now to me. Yeah, but I think Cade at this point, I think defensively, offensively, I think Cade is right there, and the shooting is just so much better for Cade Cunningham at this point than Jalen Suggs. I know that Jalen Suggs is still a good player. I'm not going to deny that he's a great player, but I still think that he could. And like that doesn't mean that Cade doesn't have an ability, or sorry, that doesn't mean that Jalen Suggs doesn't have an ability to get higher in terms of ability or potential wise. But it is going to be a very interesting situation to kind of watch and see how it goes. And and as we kind of end the stream in about 5 minutes, obviously this was more geared towards the James Harden situation, what's going on with him. But I want to thank you guys once again for joining me here on the channel. This was a lot of fun to kind of do. And as we kind of end talking about Kuminga here, already has that NBA size potential even as a junior. So we'll see what happens for Kuminga as he continues to grow and develop in his game. Let's just make sure that there's no other breaking news before we decide to head out of here. Obviously, the Harden is holding out. No timetable for him. We also got this LeBron news. The best thing about an extension is potential future with Sun. LeBron James says that the most satisfying part of the 2-year extension isn't the money. It's in fact that it assures him to play 20 seasons in the NBA. It isn't the pride in knowing that he's worked hard enough to stay on top of his game and want teams to compromise him to reach late into his 30s. No, what really excites him is this deal to align play with his son. I think that's kind of the thing that LeBron James wants to do, is kind of see where his son is at by the time his senior year becomes when he becomes a senior. I think we see a lot of potential with Bronny. I think Bronny at this moment, I think it's still too early. I think junior year is when we'll kind of know, all right, this is like the Bronny, because he's obviously aged. He's he's still in that growing potential. So we'll see definitely what is going to be going on. Looks like we got a... Okay. Sorry, I just had to deal with a work email. But I think we'll see what happens with Bronny, man. I think Bronny, if he can still grow and develop, I know we saw pictures of him recently. He looks like he's a lot stronger. He looks like he's a lot bigger. So we'll see if he can be kind of a player that we could potentially, maybe he's the guy that could be the potential number 1 pick, maybe top 10. Who knows? I mean, he's still such a young player at this point of his career, and I know that that's what LeBron James wants to do. He wants to be in a position where he can say, you know what, whatever team my son's on, I want to be part of it. And that'll be a cool feat. 20 years. We got breaking news saying that the Grizz are going to win a championship. All right. Thank you once again for the $1 donation, Mr. Splashman. We're making it splash here on the channel. Like I said, donation link in the description down below. So thank you, breaking news, for that donation. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. Like I said, Bronny is still a young player. He's still someone that we could see kind of be, his future's still up in the air right now. He's the 23rd or 24th prospect in his class right now. I still think that it's way too early to decide whether or not he is going to be like that. But at the end of the day, Bronny has to live his best life. He has to, hopefully he's not pressured by his dad and kind of just focusing on the career at hand, focusing on making sure that he is going to be the player that he wants to be. And that's going to be an interesting situation to kind of monitor and see if he's going to be like that. That is going to be something that I want to know your guys' opinion. Do you think Bronny is going to be a top 10 player in the class that he's going into? Is he going to be top 10, top 5? Maybe it's just top 25. Maybe he's just going to be a nice role player. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys see from Bronny? I'm curious to see whether or not LeBron James is going to take his son out of California and play, maybe in a different state, because I know right now California is shut down. They're not allowing any high school basketball to play except AAU. Meanwhile, you have other states that are open right now playing high school basketball. So I could potentially see that being the case. So at the end of the day, we're going to watch and monitor and see whether or not Bronny can get to that level. We'll see if LeBron James can kind of reach that 20th NBA season and play that year with him. But that's just kind of going to be a thing to look out for in the future. We know that he played on so many different teams, LeBron James, maybe not so many, Cleveland, Miami, and now the Los Angeles Lakers. So we'll see what team Bronny ends up on. Maybe he ends up in LA, maybe he ends up on a different team. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it here for the channel. Thank you once again for joining me here on the... Whoops. Let's go to this one really quick. thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge. It was a pleasure talking basketball, kind of talking some sports with you. I'm going to put some music in the background. We'll see if there's any kind of lo-fi beats. See if any of these are going to play. But again, guys, I just want to thank you so much for joining me here on The Charge. Again, guys, this is going to be a daily show. Also wanted to update everybody on the time frame for the live show. So basketball is actually going to start up, like workouts and all that stuff for my team. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, and let me make sure the music is kind of faint in the background. Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to have to be changed. Tuesdays are going to have to be on 7:15 to probably 8:15, maybe 8:30, depending on how far we go on a channel. So Tuesdays and Thursdays will have to be changed from 7:15 to 8:15. Because of just workout regimens that we're doing for our players right now, and we're kind of getting back into the swing of things. So starting next week, I believe, is when the channel is going to change. From Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's going to be from, like I said, from 7:15 to 8:15, 8:30. So I just want to get you guys to be aware of that. Like I said, guys, Tuesdays and Thursdays starting next week. So what week could that be? That'll be the 15th and 17th, and kind of from here on out, from 7:15 to 8:15 on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. And this Friday, or actually no, this Wednesday, I have a doctor's appointment, so the stream will be moved to a little bit later. I'll announce it on Twitter, and like we said here, at the Charge Stream is the Twitter handle. So if you guys are interested, make sure and go and hit that follow button. That is going to be my gift to you guys, to make sure to follow the channel. Like I said, guys, subscribe if you are new to the channel. And again, guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me here on our first ever episode talking about the James Harden COVID fiasco. This is a lot of fun. I'm expecting a lot of great things. You'll see some great guests like Sean, Brad, and many other guests. My girlfriend even might pop in to kind of talk some athletic training stuff on, recovery times for players and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in those things, please make sure that you are subscribed to The Charge here on YouTube. We're at 718 subscribers. We need about, 200 something more. Almost, 220, 282 left. Make sure to, guys, that you follow the channel, subscribe to it. If you guys are watching on Facebook, make sure to follow my page and to kind of go to YouTube and get to this channel to 1,000 subscribers. But anyway, guys, like I said, that's going to do it here for The Charge. Thank you once again for joining me here as we have the lo-fi beats playing in the background. This is kind of some music that we're testing out in the background. Like I said, thank you once again for joining me here on the channel. Appreciate each and every one of you. We'll catch you next time on the next episode number 2. That is, of course, coming tomorrow. And I really appreciate everybody that's out here. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Again, on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions here on the live stream. We'll catch you next time that we're on. Episode number 2 is coming out tomorrow at 3:35 to, of course, 4:30, 4:35. Anyway, guys, like I said, thank you once again for joining, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.